My comic and manga collection is many things. It's diverse, full of great stories, largely unread, but most importantly, my collection is a mess. You will find comics on my desk, under my desk, in a box, on the floor, inside a TV cabinet, on the floor, in another house, in a creepy room, in space, true story, and on the floor. So why is my collection so disorganized? Well, before we answer that question, let me show you my comics. So let's kick it. Starting off on top of my desk, I got the Vinland Saga, the deluxe edition. This thing is beautiful, gorgeous, large, and it's filled with great stories full of Vikings. It's just so much fun. Black Lagoon, I've got a bunch of random volumes on top here. I've got volume 9, 10, 11, and 12. House of M, you know, just a random omnibus in some foil. There's gonna be a lot of those. They're dead giveaways that I've got a lot of stuff that I need to read, that I need to catch up on. The Miles Morales Spider-Man volume 2, I read the volume 1, I think it was last year, but I have been reading the recent comics, which are pretty fun. Secret Warriors omnibus by Jonathan Hickman, followed by the Hawkeye omnibus by David Ayer and Matt Fraction. I liked the David Ayer artwork. I really enjoyed it in the Iron Fist Omni. Captain America by Ta-Nehisi Coates is right next to it. That DM variant is just really beautiful. Now, I have heard that the story isn't the greatest, but that's okay. Captain Marvel by Kelly Thompson. This is another beautiful cover. It's a DM variant too. And I'm a big fan of the costume on the right. Kelly Thompson is a pretty great writer, so it's bound to be a good run. I've only heard positive things. The Amazing Spider-Man Beyond Omni. This is the Zeb Wells run, which follows on from the Nick Spencer volumes. Zeb Wells is still currently writing Spider-Man. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, I think people are mixed on it. I've been okay with it. I've enjoyed it for the most part. Berserk Volume 1. This is the manga that started my own manga addiction. I'm really new to manga and I've been enjoying it so far so much. But Berserk, man, it is on a whole new level. Harley Quinn and the Gotham City Sirens. Originally, this was just called the Gotham City Sirens. When you gotta sell a book, you gotta put a name on it that everyone is familiar with. The Avengers, the couple of omnis there, which is the Jonathan Hickman run. I wanna spend some time reading those. I gotta put some like special time aside for this because I know it's going to demand my attention. Hulk, Planet Hulk omnibus right next to that. This omni is responsible for inspiring the Thor Ragnarok movie, which is just fantastic. It's just a shame that the movie after that wasn't that great. Green Lantern by Jeff Johns. Apparently, this is one of the greatest Green Lantern stories out there. Spider-Man Ben Reilly Volume 2. I remember getting this one super duper cheap, so I thought, hey, eventually I'm gonna get stuck into the Clone Saga, so might as well check this one out now. Hellsing, the deluxe edition. This one is just so beautiful, but apparently the story is not very accurate in terms of the translation from the writer. Black Lagoon, I've got some more volumes there. I've got volume 4 and 3 and 2 just scattered around. I mean, I told you, it's gonna be a bit of a mess. No Guns Life, volume 7. This is such a fun read. Like, if you love all things sci-fi, this is really gonna be up your alley. It's beautiful artwork that just seems to be getting better with every single volume. More Black Lagoon, volume 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Blam, the Master Edition volume 1 by Tsutomu Nihei. This has absolutely wild artwork. If you love sci-fi stuff and beautiful artwork and big pages when it comes to a manga, then this is the one that you should check out. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Spider-Man, the Superior Spider-Man. Some more No Guns Live volumes, 8, 9, and 10. Department of Truth, The Complete Conspiracy volume 1. This one's gonna be an absolute banger. I could just tell. More Berserk volumes. They don't need any introduction. This is Deluxe Edition 4 and 3. Just want to savor that series. So below my desk, you will find 2 volumes of the Complete Invincible Library Editions, that being volume 2 and 3. By now, if you don't know who Invincible is, I recommend you check out the TV show on Amazon Prime. It is just simply amazing and the comic books are just as great, if not better. Fear Agent volume 1 and 2, which actually complete the entire story by Rick Remender. These are also the Absolute or Library Edition sizes. Thor by Jason Aaron volume 2. Volume 1 was something that I loved so much, and I've spoken on the channel a couple of times about it. Keen to see the end of the story or the second part part of Jason Aaron's epic journey of Thor. Daredevil by Mark Waid. This is volume 1 and 2. I got the DM variants for both of them. They just simply look stunning. A different take on Daredevil, but one I'm sure I'm going to enjoy. I really like Mark Waid's writing. He hasn't let me down today. Manifest Destiny was one of those graphic novels that I saw the artwork, I saw the reviews, and the fact that it's an Image Comics published piece of work, and that's all I needed to know. Take my money. Spider-Man by Ben Reilly, Volume 1. More Clone Saga shenanigans. The Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer. This is the Volume 1. I do like Nick Spencer's writing. Devil's Reign. This is probably one of the better events out there. I'm gonna be double dipping a little bit because I am definitely buying the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil Omnis, which are like releasing right now. Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis. This is volume 3. Man, it was really hard to get this one initially. It sold out super fast. They had a mini reprint, managed to jump on that and got lucky. Savage Dragon, the Ultimate Collection volume 2. I read the first one, really enjoyed it. It's some 90s shenanigan action, and hey, let's have more of that. Batman Eternal Omnibus. I had no idea that Scott Snyder was also writing another Batman book alongside his Batman New 52. Apparently the artwork is gorgeous in this one. Swamp Thing, the Absolute Edition. This was a Christmas gift from a friend. It will be my very first experience of Swamp Thing. And moving along next to my desk, also on the floor, I've got Captain America, The Trial of Captain America by Ed Brubaker. Captain America Lives, that being the 3rd volume. Recently read these, did a big ass review on them. Loved it. It's pretty great. The Walking Dead Volume 3, the Omnibus. Those are gorgeous. Those slipcase editions, man, they are so beautiful. And man, the comic books are really great. Deadpool and Cable. This is a gorgeous looking omnibus as well. Apparently, one of the better Deadpool stories out there. Green Lantern Corps. This one is supposed to support the Green Lantern by Jeff Johns and flesh out the world just that little bit more. War of Kings. This is a continuation of the Marvel Universe cosmic events. Batman Nightfall, the 1st volume. Oh yeah, do I love this run. I mean, it's not sophisticated in any way, shape, or form, but man, is it fun, and man, does it have a lot of nostalgia for me. It's got some dope artwork, and it's like really long as well. It's got a lot of parts. And then we got Captain America by Nick Spencer, one of those controversial runs, but a run that got me hooked, and I enjoyed it all the way through. My desk has some little secrets because on the right hand side I've got a pocket in there, and inside it is the Sleeper Omnibus written by Ed Brubaker with Sean Phillips on there as well. Man, looks like something hella awesome that I really need to start reading right now. And to the left hand side I've got The Question. I love the cover on it. It's got this mysterious movie poster vibes, and I think that's what really sold me on it, but also the fact that the character just seems so fascinating. Alright, moving away from that desk, I've got my manga collection inside the TV cabinet. On the left hand side I've got Goku Rakugai by Yuto Sano. Man, this one was really fun. The artwork was just freaking gorgeous. It's a manga that I'm very happy that I started to collect, and I'm looking forward to sticking with it. Hell's Paradise is right next to it. This is the 1st volume. Yeah, I enjoyed this, and I do need to hunt down the following volumes. Black Lagoon, you guys seen it scattered on my desk. This is a really fun anime that came out in the 2010s, I think, and the manga is just as good, if not better. Then we got some more No Guns Life from volume 1 through to 6, which I've read those just recently. Sakamoto Days, another one that I really want to continue reading. This is so much fun. Like I said before, this is like the definition of fun and action squished into one. Origin, some more sci-fi great stuff with just incredibly gorgeous artwork. This one is by Boichi. I've got the first 3 volumes. I think the 4th one is just around the bend. 10 volumes in total. It's really good. More No Guns Life, volume 11, 12, and 13, and then Alice in Borderland. Now, wasn't the biggest fan from the get-go, but like halfway through that volume, I was sold. Full Metal Alchemist. You guys know this. If you guys just know anime, you will know Full Metal Alchemist. That's the Full Metal edition. Shoujo X is just next to that, the 1st volume. Yeah, okay, I wasn't the biggest fan of that one, but you know what? I'm gonna keep cracking on it. I think Sui Ishida has like the biggest fan base and people just love his stuff, and Tokyo Ghoul is meant to be awesome, so I'll keep going with it. And of course I gotta check out Tokyo Ghoul. Then the Fable, really unexpectedly funny Hitman-like tale, very unique, realistic as well, very lifelike. Initial D is a great dose of slice of life. It's a different kind of experience, chill you out and have like really mundane conversations and whatnot. That's cool, I like it. Now turns out just behind that there's more space, and that's where I put my Chainsaw box set. Probably one of the most peak manga I got to experience. Man, it's so good. I'm gonna do a review on that because I love it so much. I just want to talk all things Chainsaw. Don't worry, it's gonna be spoiler free. So in the middle of my TV cabinet, we've got, guess what, more comics. And first up is Lazarus, the first collection. Awesome sci-fi dystopian future-like story. I've got the first 3 volumes, read the first one. I need to check out the others because the artwork is gorgeous, the writing exceptional, and the world building is just simply awesome. Death of Captain America Omnibus, which is the 2nd volume of the Brubaker run, and then I've got the 1st volume of the Brubaker run in there too. And then by Scott Snyder and Jock is The Batman Who Laughs, the deluxe edition, which focuses on one of the modern day villains, the most twisted version of Batman. It's a pretty great story. I recommend it for Batman fans. I've got a couple volumes of Justice League, the deluxe editions by Scott Snyder, that being 2 and 3. Read the first one, wasn't completely blown away, but I do like a lot of the stuff that Scott Snyder has done at DC. Layla Starr, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. I find it so strange how this hardcover just has like a really weird size to it. It's taller than an omnibus, smaller than an absolute edition. It's got a size of its own. Ah, The Preacher. This is Garth Ennis's best of the best, right? Apparently. I should know, but I haven't actually read it. Yeah, I started reading it. This is that gorgeous absolute edition that comes in that slipcase, and the books themselves, they look like Bibles. I have no idea why I dropped it. I need to pick this thing back up. And here's volume 2 of The Walking Dead Omnibus. More Captain America, Return of the Winter Soldier. This is the last volume in that 5-volume series by Ed Brubaker. And The Guardians of the Galaxy. Sure, why not? By Brian Michael Bendis. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Great movies. Actually, a pretty decent trilogy. And to the left of the cabinet, I've got my Naruto collection. This is the first manga box. I just love how they just fit in there so nicely. Like, it's just awesome. And man, is this series fun. It's just such a good world building experience. And speaking of fun mangas, below that I have the Dragon Ball Z manga collection. This is that entire box set as well. Also fits very nicely in this TV cabinet. But as you guys have recommended to me, I probably should read Dragon Ball before I jump into this, so I will do that. I'll eventually get the Dragon Ball box set. But wait, there's more. Behind the manga in that cabinet, turns out I have more comic books. Surprise, surprise. The Nightclub, the trade paperback by Mark Millar. This one's pretty fun. It's fast-paced, decent artwork. The Ambassador's trade paperback, I very much enjoyed that one, and it ties into the big game. If you're following Mark Millar's universe, that's a must-have. Black Panther by Christopher Priest. Heard great things when it comes to Black Panther stories. This is the only one that I own, and it looks pretty great, and I need to read it. Captain Marvel by Kelly Sue DeConnick. The Descender. This is the book 2 by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. Wonderful artwork, interesting, fascinating, different sci-fi story with an ending that I really didn't expect, but I appreciated and respected. And then we got the first volume as well. These are published through Image Comics, and I love my Image Comics reads because, you know, independent writers, creators, they can give you stories that have an ending, which is, you know, something that we really don't get through Marvel and DC Comics, unless a character does not return to the universe, which we know a lot of the time they do. On the bottom shelf, I got some Spawn collections. These are the Origins, the really big ones. They're like absolutes. I've got volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. Back to the floor we go again with Black Science by Rick Remender. I've got the 3 volumes. They're nice and deluxe edition. Big oversized books, which I always appreciate and love. Is the Batman The Harsh Saga Omnibus. Miles Morales Spider-Man by Saladin Ahmed. That cover, I'm not a big fan of that. that. He looks like he's Mr. Fantastic. Something a little bit different. This is Regression, the complete collection. It looks like it's gonna be something really freaky, weird, maybe a little bit grotesque. But you know what? I'm up for it. Image Comics hasn't let me down today. I feel like that anything that they're willing to publish into a deluxe edition means that it's gotta be decent to an extent. Batman Under the Red Hood, the deluxe edition. I love the animated movie of this. I never got to experience the comic version of it, so here it is. Further along back here, we got some more love for Batman. This is Batman Road to No Man's Land Omnibus, a big chunky one. Then V for Vendetta, the Absolute Edition. And if you haven't seen V for Vendetta, the movie, I highly recommend it. Hugo Weaving, his voice is just phenomenal. He plays the character so well, and despite not seeing his face, he really delivers. It's just fascinating to know how much you can do with your own voice. More love for Invincible. This is the 4th library edition. So I guess 2 more to go and I'll have the complete set. Oh wait, no, 3, because I'm missing the first one as well. Batman Detective Comics by Peter J. Tomasi Omnibus. This one looks like it will be pretty promising. Loving the artwork front and back. More Batman love, and this particular Batman Omnibus is really, really special to me. It's called the Batman Adventures Omnibus, but really it's the animated series. And speaking of which, have you guys seen the trailer for that new Batman animated series that's coming out? It's supposed to live up to the original. I haven't been this hyped for a superhero cartoon in a while, and man, this looks good. I just hope it delivers. Moonshine, the complete collection by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso. It's got werewolves and gangsters. At least, that's what I can tell from the cover. Alright, so now let's head over to the next house, which by the way isn't my house. I'm not a squillionaire bajillionaire. That house belongs to my parents. Okay, let's roll. In the first part of the Kallax, I've got the Once and Future by Karen Gillan and Dan Mora. The artwork in this is just insane. This is published by Boom Studios. I highly recommend for people that want to get into something indie and that's based on like medieval and historical stuff. Something is Killing the Children is next. This is also a wonderful series. A lot of people will probably know this one. It's a James Tynion piece of work, and I think that's what really made him blow up. The Walking Dead, this is the first omnibus. Savage Dragon, also I've mentioned that before, that's the Ultimate Collection, the first volume. The Ascender by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. This is actually a sequel to The Descender. I love that DM cover though, it's sick. Southern Bastards by Jason Aaron and Jason Latour. This is book 1, and you know what? We're never gonna get a book 2. Apparently the artist, Jason Latour, did something naughty. The Fade Out, this is an Ed Brubaker classic. I love that book. It is so gorgeous. It's got a fantastic tale that's set in the 1950s. Yes, I think it's the 1950s. It's post World War II, and it's set around Hollywood during that time. The Wicked and the Divine by Karen Gillan. Unfortunately, I only have the first volume because if you collectors know, the successive volumes are just impossible to find, and if you do find them, they're really, really expensive. Gideon Falls Volume 1 and 2 by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentina. This one is awesome. It's like this thriller sci-fi horror book. It has the whole story within the 2 hardcovers. The Good Asian is the last one, and that's by Pichichote and Tefengi. Man, I really struggle with those last names. It is a fun detective tale based on a protagonist that is an Asian man in the US. I think it's in 1936. Yes, by the cover you can see it's 1936, so before World War II. And the types of challenges that he comes across, not just with the murder cases that he needs to solve. You got The Boys, the hardcover omnis, and man, is it like crass and grotesque. It's pretty much everything you'd expect from The Boys, but I think it's cranked up to 11 in comparison to the TV show. Oblivion Song by Robert Kirkman and Lorenzo De Felici. I read the first volume, wasn't completely blown away, but I have heard that it just gets better. Philadelphia Deluxe Edition Volume 1. Man, this is good. If you like vampires, Vampires in the City by Rodney Barnes. If you like horror, if you like action, if you like something that's deep and meaningful as well as those things, then I think you should check check it out. It's really great read. Reckless books are up next by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Quality is remarkable. The story, well, it's Ed Brubaker. Anything from him is just phenomenal. It's just a shame they're not an oversized format. Black Cat by Jed McKay is up next. I did a little review of that one. I very much enjoyed it. It's just really fun. It's playful. Captain America: The Golden Age Volume 1 and 2, followed by the Mark Waid volumes. I've got those Marvel Premiere editions, which Marvel has discontinued now. Dan Jurgens' story, it's good. It has some nice moments, but it's not as deep as some of the other Captain America stuff. Captain America by Rick Remender. I understand this one follows on from the Ed Brubaker story, so I guess this one is up next for me to read. This is the tail end of the Captain America. I've got the 2 volumes by Ta-Nehisi Coates. These are the hardcovers. I ended up going for the Omni and upgrading, so not sure what I'm gonna do with these. Maybe I'll keep them because now that Marvel has discontinued these, you know, they'll be like a nice collector's edition type of thing. Speaking of those hardcovers, we have the Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky. I have all 4 volumes. I've read 3 of these and oh boy, these are so awesome. Artwork is top tier. The writing is just really fun. You fly through the pages, man. It's just such a good time. And honestly, I discovered Marco Ceccato, the artist, on this series. And ever since, I just want him to draw a lot more Marvel books. Love his art style. Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Johnson is up next. That's a classic. I thought it aged really, really well. Reading it recently, I thought, okay, I get it. I understand why it's timeless. It's just really good. And a lot of the Netflix TV show is based on it. Daredevil by Ed Brubaker. I got the first volume, waiting for the second one, and then I want to do a huge Daredevil read-through, but I want to get the Brian Michael Bendis stuff before I commit to a massive read-through. The Daredevil by Charles Soule. Excited to jump into that one. That's the preceding one before we get to Chip Zdarsky. Then we got a couple of the Doctor Strange Omnis. I guess these are the Golden Age Omnis, and then it's the Jason Aaron and Bachalo Omnibus, which has the wackiest artwork. It's bright, it's colorful, it's strange, so I guess it meets the theme of the book, and it just feels like it should have been longer. On to the Marvel Cosmic Saga. I have Annihilation and Annihilation Conquest, but I seem to be missing Road to War of Kings and Realm of Kings. I'll wait until those get reprinted. Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. I've got the volume 1 there. I think I've got volume 2 floating around somewhere. Alias by Brian Michael Bendis. This one is a good one. Highly recommended. I mean, it's what inspired the Jessica Jones TV show. It's awesome, man. And speaking of awesome things, it's the Immortal Iron Fist and the Immortal Weapons. I did a review of that one. We got Brubaker and Fraction on there. All around really fun run. If you like Mortal Kombat mixed in with just a tad of criminal noir, it's just good fun. Deadly Class by Rick Remender. Now, I recall enjoying that first volume. I have 2 and 3 that I have yet to read, and there's the 4th one that I have to get to complete the collection. Invincible. Yeah, I got the Ultimate Collections 1 through 2-4. Well, actually, it says 1, 2, 4, 3. I need to fix that. But anyway, yeah, as you can tell, the order in my collax, it's pretty much out of whack, right? Yes, I've committed to the Invincible Library editions instead. Paper Girls. I think there was a TV show of this on Amazon Prime. I think it bombed because it got cancelled for a 2nd season, which is a shame, but hey, we got the comics to enjoy though. Monstrous, Volume 1 and 2. That first volume was pretty epic. I guess it was maybe a mild flavor of manga. It kind of tells the story in a manga style. It's got gorgeous artwork though. Really, really great. And I think it won a few awards, and I'm not surprised why. Die Book 1 by Karen Gillan. Complete blind buy, and yeah, I should read it. Time to give Spider-Man some love with The Amazing Spider-Man by Michael J. Straczynski. That first volume was hella awesome. Brian Michael Bendis giving us some Ultimate Spider-Man next to that. I've got volume 1 and 2, and you guys previously saw volume 3 behind me there. The Ultimates by Mark Millar and Brian Hitch. For some reason, I've heard that this one doesn't get a lot of love. Spider-Man Life Story by Chip Zdarsky, the hardcover. Pretty happy that I got that one because it's pretty impossible to find nowadays, but then again, you can just get the Chip Zdarsky Spider-Man Omnibus, and that story's gonna be in there, so you won't miss out. Spider-Man Spider-Geddon by a whole bunch of artists and writers. It looks fun, it looks massive, and it looks unread. Miles Morales Spider-Man, that's the first volume, and Sarah Pichelli really took me for a spin with the artwork. Man, it is really good. Like, it's just absolute eye candy, and Brian Michael Bendis does a decent job with this. I enjoyed that one. We got the Wolverine Omnis. I've got 1, 2, and 3. I think we're up to 5 at the moment, but yeah. I need to catch up. I haven't really made it a priority to get the other 2. I think I will eventually though. These are some great stories. The first one really took me back, all the way to the 80s. Now, why is Wolverine next to Miles Morales Spider-Man? Because the W is an upside down M. There you go. You didn't see that one coming? Well, neither did I. Like, I'm telling you, man, there's no order on these shelves. There's like a little bit of order, but a little bit of chaos at the same time. Savage Avengers was a great omnibus by Jerry Duggan. It had some of the coolest characters in the Marvel universe getting together. And also my first time experiencing Conan the Barbarian, and I found him pretty funny and pretty awesome at the same time. Dr. Aphra Star Wars. This is my little Star Wars collection of the Kallax. Star Wars Darth Vader by Gillen, which was freaking cool, and then Star Wars by Charles Soule. Then I've got the Star Wars The High Republic. Yeah, I enjoyed that. It had some nice artwork. Maybe it wasn't the best story, but it was engaging. It kept me locked in all the way through. Jason Aaron is here again with Thor. Oh boy, yes, this is the Omni that made me love Marvel Comics so much. This is just such a great story. House of X, Powers of X, this is where it all started with the Jonathan Hickman's X-Men, and yes, it is great. Krakoa era, man, it's fire. Cable by Jerry Duggan, good series by the way. It's a shame it was cut short. And here's the rest of my X books. We got the Excalibur. I wasn't a big fan of that, and that was my introduction to Tinny Howard's writing, and oh boy, anything that I've read that she's touched, yeah, it hasn't been that good, man. Hellions by Zeb Wells. This was great. This was actually a really fun ride. Marauders by Jerry Duggan. That was okay. Wasn't too impressed with it. Wolverine by Ben Percy. You know what? That's a good one. I read those first 2 volumes. It was pretty fun, but it did get disrupted by a few events, which is an absolute bummer. It's just a book that just kept getting disrupted. There's X-Force as well. I got volume 1 and 2. I know the 3rd one came out of Wolverine and X-Force. I just don't know if I want to commit to it because I just get the feeling that an omnibus is just around the corner. X-Men by Jonathan Hickman. This Omni feels incomplete. X of Swords, the event started off really strong. Gorgeous artwork, don't get me wrong, but it feels like the middle just loses itself, and then it comes together quite nicely at the end though. It just gets back on track. X-Men Hellfire Gala, great artwork, but it was a little bit boring. It feels like X-Men Slice of Life. Inferno, oh yeah, that's where it picks up again. This is awesome, man. Well, it's Jonathan Hickman, that's probably why it's awesome. X Lives of Wolverine and Deaths of Wolverine. This one really took me by surprise because Ben Percy just blew it out of the water, man. This is a great story. I did not expect that from him. It just shows that guy's got some really great writing chops, man. Sins of Sinister is another good one. I really like that. I feel some people were mixed on it, but I thought that was an awesome event and a nice kind of like crescendo in the Krakoa era. Okay, can't neglect DC completely. Batman Detective Comics by James Tynion IV. These are beautiful. It's just a shame that DC discontinued these. And the Tom King story, to be honest, I haven't finished it. It does get interesting. Like, it kind of gets a little bit strange sometimes. The first half that I read, it's solid. What is really solid is Gotham Central, the Omnibus by Brubaker, Rucker, Lark, and others. And oh boy, This is a good one. I'm so surprised that not so many people talk about it, that it's not as popular as it should be. Like, this should get a lot of love, man, and respect from the comic book community. Batman White Knight, the deluxe editions. Sean Murphy does a kind of like an Elseworld tale of Batman. He sets up a really cool premise, executes it well. You know, the first volume is good, but I felt that the second one was just that little bit better. Alright, look at that. I've got a whole bunch of trade paperbacks. Like, I'm not a big trade paperback collector. Starting off here, we've got Rorschach, the hardcover by Tom King. Great story. Just wish there was a deluxe version of that. Red Rising Sons of Ares. This doesn't have the greatest artwork, but the story is pretty cool. This was a gift from my friend. He loves that world. He loves the books, so he shared this one with me. I'm really grateful I have this in my collection. Geiger, yes, by Jeff Johns. This is a great story. I really wanted to read that one, and the single issues were very difficult to get, so I ended up getting the trade paperback. I succumbed. John Constantine Hellblazer by Simon Spurrier. This was the biggest shock that it got cancelled. It is just such a great story, and I'm surprised it's not collected in some sort of a deluxe edition. All we have is these two trade paperbacks, and I'm happy that he's back to tell some more of it. Neil Gaiman's Sandman. This was another gift of a trade paperback. The artwork is so fitting. It's just trippy, like dreamlike state all the way through. It has some fold-out pages as well. The story sequence just feels like you're going from one idea to the next. Like, you'll see what I mean. It honestly feels like you're in a dream. Nemesis Reloaded has some beautiful artwork by Jorge Jimenez and some wacky and disturbing writing by Mark Millar. Wanted is another great story by Mark Millar. It's an ending that I really didn't expect. Just be warned, it's fairly graphic. And it's nothing like the movie. Do a Powerbomb by Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. Oh, this one is good. Hey, if you're into comics at all, just check this one out. It's got heart, it's got action, and it's got some sick artwork. Justice League No Justice. This is Scott Snyder, James Tynion. It's an alright story. Like, it really sets the scene. The Variants by Marvel Comics. This one is great. It's a Jessica Jones story. Nailbiter by Joshua Williamson is a thrilling tale. It's a little bit violent, but it has this funky as colorful artwork that really contrasts what the story is trying to say. King of Spies, though, I highly recommend this one. It's a great spy story, an unexpected one about a guy who's like one of the best spies out there, and turns out that he gets cancer. He goes through a very fascinating journey of self-reflection and trying to fix the wrongs in his life. Nocterra, Full Throttle, Batman by Grant Morrison. Omnibus Volume 1 and 2. For some reason it lost me, so I need to go back to it. Kick-Ass. I got all the Kick-Ass books. I got 1, 2, the Prelude, and 3. These are great. If I would recommend anything from Mark Millar, probably be these to get people started. The movie is good too, but the books, they really expand on it. It's a little bit darker. Speaking of dark, we got Batman and the Joker, The Deadly Duo, Deluxe Edition by Mark Silvestri. Beautiful artwork, pretty good story. Oh look, I've got both covers of the Venom Omnibus and the King in Black. That was a very poor financial decision on my part. Up next is The Preacher Volume 3, the Absolute Edition, followed by Lady Killer by Joelle Jones. The Dark Horse, absolute sized, beautiful book. It's got some stellar artwork that just really pops at you. The colors are so vibrant, and it's got this like 1950s kind of style, and it takes place in that era too. And I really hope that Joelle Jones comes back to revisit this and continues it. It's basically a story about a lady who is a lovely housewife and mother and doubles as a secret agent. It's just hella awesome, it's fun, and it's drenched in style and action. Oh yeah, and I got book 11 and 12 of the deluxe editions of Spawn. I got a little bit carried away, maybe a bit too ambitious. I can't afford to collect all the different hardcover versions of Spawn. Next to it, I also have the Spawn Origins Collection, book 5. These are the ones I want to commit to. They're giant, they're gorgeous. And speaking of giant, we have Avengers vs. X-Men. I think this might be the biggest omnibus that Marvel has published. It's around 1,600 pages long. The War of the Realms. I have this, but I feel like it's a little bit obsolete because if you have volume 2 of Jason Aaron's Thor, which has the event of War of the Realms, then maybe that's not necessary unless you really want to expand on that story. A little bit more love for Batman. These are the Scott Snyder collected editions, omnibus Omnibus Volume 1 and 2, The Batman 52. This is great, man. If you're new to Batman and you want some recent Batman stories, I recommend these. The artwork from Greg Capullo is just simply stellar. Man, The Court of Owls has gotta be one of the best Batman stories out there. At least it's one of my favorite in recent times. Dark Knight's Metal Omnibus is a great event omnibus by Scott Snyder. He's really piecing together all the things that he introduced in his run of the Batman. Justice League by Scott Snyder, Book 1, I mentioned that previously. Batman and Robin Eternal is the continuation of the Batman Eternal Omni. And Batman and Robin by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason Omnibus. I remember reading some of these in single comics, and they were just a lot of fun. Now, something that's gonna really demand my attention and time is 100 Bullets by Brian Azzarello. These Omnis look like they're gonna give me an epic saga full of criminal stories. Nice House on the Lake. Great story, nice twists, pretty freaky, highly recommend. Mike Mignola's world of Hellboy is freaking awesome. Mike Mignola is really the king of negative space. I'd like to get more of these later down the line and just experience more of his world. The library edition of Cyberpunk 2077 is also a gorgeous book. I love these stories in that world, and I really love this world, and I hope that we get more content in the future so we can have more of these library editions. And speaking of beautiful things, Batman 3 Jokers by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok. This is so beautiful, man. I love the story. I love the artwork. I think this is probably my favorite absolute in my collection that I have read so far, which is not saying much because you can tell there's a lot of unread stuff here. Superman, The Death and Return of Superman. I feel like this one just needs to be in everybody's collection. I feel like everyone remembers when the death of Superman happened. And time to open up a wardrobe filled with, you guessed it, more comic books. We've got Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I got volume 1 and 3, missing the volume 2 of those brand new reprinted editions. Man, I really hope I can find volume 2 because it's bugging me. Saga is right next to that. I've got the 3 volumes by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is one epic tale, man. If you just want an adventure, I highly recommend this. It's got sci-fi, it's got romance, action, quirky humor, lots of social commentary. It feels like it's pretty grounded as well. Like you can kind of relate to a lot of these characters, even though they may be from space or different species. It's just really good. The Witcher the Library Edition is up next. I like this. I think it's got some great stories, but it just feels a little bit jarring when you have different creative teams on these 4-part stories. It's cool. I like the world. I just wish we had more continuity. I would totally be behind a comic book that has ongoing issues of The Witcher with the same creative team. Chew the Omnivore editions. I got volume 1, 2, and 3. Would love to eventually find 4, 5, and 6. Hopefully they're still in circulation out there. This has beautiful artwork that just pops right in your face. It's bright, it's colorful, and it tells a bit of a dark and twisted story. Like, it's dark humor is probably the best way to put it. Criminal, the deluxe edition, volume 1 and 2. These are the OGs. I bought these a long time ago, and man, I love that I have these. These are just my prized possessions. I think I must have bought them like 10 or more years ago. Oh look, a magazine with Todd McFarlane's face on it. And Batman Black Mirror. Now this one's a weird one because it's an actual library edition, as in it was custom bound for a library. Oh man, and these bring some memories. So these are some beautiful Superman comic books signed by Michael Turner himself back in about 2006, I think. Man, this was a really sad time. That wonderful artist left us way too soon. He passed away in his like late 30s. I attended one of these Comic Cons in New Zealand to get these books signed by him, and he just seemed really down. You know, something tells me that he must have already known about his illness at the time. It's just such a shame, man, to lose such a talented artist so quickly. Then we got some Batman annuals, a whole pile of them. I've got a large selection of Batman comics. Let's have a look at some drawers, and look at that, it's another Preach Absolute Edition. And some Deadpool comics. These are the Daniel Way comics. I've got a whole bunch of different series. Like, I honestly have a lot of Deadpool comics. You will see Deadpool after Deadpool after Deadpool. I went through a phase of really loving Deadpool. Like, a long time ago. I still love the character, it's just I haven't seen any good comic book runs in recent times, which is a real bummer. You know, I'm hoping that new Joe Kelly Deadpool World War III is really gonna reignite my love for the character in the comic book world. But regardless, I'm super duper excited to see that new Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Man, I hope it's good. I hope it's really good. But anyway, enjoy some images of more Deadpool comics. I have a lot of them. Something a little bit different. Yeah, I've got more Deadpool comics, but next to that is the Redneck comics by Donny Cates. Does anyone remember that? I feel like this is one of those series that he just left, like abandoned. Oh, and by the way, I've got a couple of these Deadpool comics that are newsstand editions. They're a nice collector's edition item to have. You know, I gotta say, looking at some of these Deadpool covers, they are just simply gorgeous. In fact, some of the artwork from the Daniel Way era was just phenomenal. Some of these old school Deadpool comics just look magnificent, and I realized why that's the case. We had Paco Medina and Carlo Barberi doing some of this artwork. I really missed that era. You know, this was a really fun, like, Deadpool era with beautiful artwork, just some silly tales. Hell, I mean, it wasn't perfect, and maybe I'm wearing some rose-tinted glasses, but it was just a good time, man. Oh yeah, I've got some Agent X comics, which that spins out of Deadpool as well. Oh, here's my first ever collected edition, the Deadpool Classic Omnibus. I remember just being so overwhelmed how epic this thing was. You know, it had over 1,000 pages of comic book, and I haven't experienced anything like it at that point in time. I thought, whoa, okay, this is the future of comics. And I've got this cool looking comic book chest, and inside it I have a few slabs. The Amazing Spider-Man 88, which is the first appearance of Queen Goblin. Obviously the first appearance of Deadpool. Just wish I had a 9.8 in that. The Amazing Spider-Man, this is the first appearance of the Rose. I've got some strange ones, like this Outcast issue 1. Oh, and Scalped, the first issue. Yes, I love this series, man. Oh, and Swamp Thing, the first full appearance of John Constantine. And the first appearance of Omega Red. The first appearance of the Midnight Suns, Ghost Rider issue 31. I've got my drawers full of comics, lots of different comics in there, a lot of Batman, a lot of Detective Comics, got a whole bunch of Daredevil, Moon Knight, endless amounts of Spawn comics. I don't want to bore you guys too much with that. I mean, I have lots of boxes full of comics. There's thousands of them. Back to my original question, why is my comic and manga collection such a mess? Is it because I don't have any money, I don't have any time, or perhaps I haven't decided how I want to display my comic and manga collection? To be honest, it's a combination of all three. But that still doesn't excuse my mess, so I decided to head out to the place that's gonna solve my problem just a little bit, that being IKEA. And you know what? That place is so freaking busy. There was like so many people at IKEA. Maybe they had a sale on, or maybe there's a lot of people living there right now. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a really fun place to visit. But anyway, so I got myself a couple of small shelves to help me out with the mess that I have here. And I got some dessert too, because yum yum. So I've got my manga on a little billy now, which is nice. It has a bit of space on there. It's a little bit more presentable. And I also have my comic books on a little kallax, you know, just to kind of get rid of some of the clutter. It's not perfect, but it's a start. And I want to know from you guys. Let me know in the comments below, what's the state of your collection? Is it an absolute mess, a disaster, perhaps far worse than mine? Let me know in the comments below, because I want to know, what do you guys use to display your collection? And as always, a big thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you soon.